all the other religions out there that also have the same monotheistic eternal life views, which one is which, or which one I should choose? Well, that's where the pragmatic way of thinking comes in. We start to look at the options. So obviously in Christianity, you have Baptist, Lutheranism, all those types of things. You can lower those chances, you can lower those religions down only to a couple just by looking at what started it all. If we look back to the older days, we can see that obviously it first started out as Christianity or Catholicism, in which that would be probably one of the main things we look at when pragmatically thinking. Obviously you have your Judaic and Islamic, and then from there you keep doing the same thing until you finally get to the point of which you arrive at the best outcome for yourself and what you think would be best for you. That is how pragmatic thinking works. You also use other points about how the chart is unreliable due to the fact that there could be many other outcomes there. Well, here's the truth. You either believe in God or you don't believe in God. There is really no in between. So if you believe in God, you have to realize that there is a chance that you are going to be correct, and there is a chance that you will have an afterlife, and that there is a chance that all these claims will be true and you'll be seated at the right hand of the Father. Now, if you do not believe in God, you are diminishing all those chances. So all those chances here, and you're only living your finite lifestyle, which is fine. But if we're going by probability and which belief is more rational, the more rational belief would have to be the one where you have an eternal life and where you'll be living longer and happier. My first objection to obviously your claims or your arguments was the fact that you stated that we don't believe in evidence. That is not true. As a non-evidentialist, we still believe that evidence could be used to support our beliefs just like anybody else, but we also believe that we don't need to have the evidence necessarily to provide a rational opinion or belief on God or any other thing. As a second objection, you mention regress, infinite regress. And that's where we really start to dive into pragmatic thinking even more. Instead of infinitely regressing or going in a loop over and over and over again about pretty much the same thing, we can really limit our answers or limit our way of thinking down to certain things by using this way of thinking. For some people, it could be the community around, just like the church they're in, or even how a certain religion holds their beliefs or statuses, and that could be good for that one person. But as long as you're believing in that God, then you have a chance of that eternal life, and you have a chance, and that's where that rational belief comes in. Now, you also mention Clifford's example of the shipwreck, and how they didn't make the voyage, the ship sank, and everyone died. Who was to blame? Obviously the guy that said that. Well, let me change the story up a little bit. Say the guy made those claims that the ship was going to sail across the sea and be perfectly fine because it's been doing it for so long, and it actually did, right? So that ship now has voyaged across the sea. It's in bad condition, but it still managed to take everybody across the sea safely and soundly without any harm. In that scenario, everybody would have believed him afterwards. Everybody would have trusted that he was right, and they wouldn't doubt him for a second time, because what he did was true and is exactly what he said.
In response to your objections, I would argue that the pragmatic thinking or rationale could be considered evidence. You said to avoid the infinite regress, that's when you would dive deeper into the pragmatic thinking, and that use of the rationale as it applies to you. I would consider that could be used as evidence to support your beliefs or claims, therefore making it evidentialism in a way. It really all just depends on the individual as to whether they feel that is sufficient enough to support their beliefs or not. If not, then they will need to find evidence via other methods outside of pragmatic thinking or the rationale. Additionally, the degree of the claim is directly related to the level of evidence that is required for support. For me, a claim containing God and the afterlife sounds pretty serious, which is why I believe that the evidentialist perspective is better, because you need the evidence to support this belief rather than just basing it off of a chance.